Hello. My name is Ariadne Culver, and I suppose I'm answering some questions today.
My name is President Klaus Holzmann, and today I will be fielding questions from the people. I've been sure they've all been vetted beforehand, but we'll see.
Hello, it's me, Eisen.
And I'm Colette.
And I'm Telesphore. Today we're going to be answering questions from our adoring public.
And we'll use this fun wee device right here. I call it the Quizmaster. See, you hit this button, and a card comes out with a question on it. Alright, so, who's going to go first?
Aya, Winterlich and Company, what are your favourite and least favourite places you visited together and why?
The bathhouse at Bad Spookburg, obviously. Last time I was there, I got a facial and a steam bath, and I don't think I've ever been more relaxed in my life. And nobody's tried to kill me there. Yet.
Not to mention any feelings you may or may not have on certain opium growers who shall remain nameless.
No! Well, okay, actually, yes, but if I led with that, the audience would think I was shallow.
Alright, so these two are going to fucking kill me for saying this, but to be honest, I couldn't care less. My favourite's still got to be the Devil's Maw.
Oh! That was my least favourite.
What? Worse than Sorbus? That was my least favourite, by the way.
At least Sorbus wasn't slimy.
Aye, and it didn't have slot machines or the fastest single-loop centrifugal railway on the continent either. Plus, in Sorbus, I felt on edge the whole time, You walk down the street in that town and people just stare at you like you've just broken into their house or you've done a massive shite on their doorstep.
I'm going to be predictable and say that my favourite was Paris. My least favourite was, well, prison.
Oh aye, I almost forgot about the prison.
But that feels like cheating. Nobody likes prison, I assume. Outside of that, I can't say I have any desire to stop in Mendrisio ever again.
President Holzmann, why should I vote for you in the next election? Why should you vote for me? First, because you'll never need to worry about voting again afterwards. The whole system is philosophically bankrupt and must be torn out at the roots. But in the short term, a vote for Klaus Holzmann is a vote for self-determination. It's a vote for a steady hand on your shoulder rather than in your pocket. It is a vote for the Valorian Socialist Republic to stand tall on the international stage and bring our neighbours to heel, rather than taking turns being each of their lapdog. In the country I'm creating, you will never need to apologize for strength. In fact, the nations around us will need to beg our forgiveness for the liberties they've taken.
Ariadne, were you at all a little disappointed that your son didn't want to pick up fleshcraft? I'm disappointed by Leonid's lack of enthusiasm for my work, certainly, but I'm not especially bothered that he never pursued the same path. If he learned how to heal others, then he'd be able to heal himself. I wouldn't have liked that. I prefer knowing that my sweet little boy will always need me.
Alright, here we go. What's something that gives you culture shock when you're outside the VSR? Well, the police are always harder to fucking bribe for one thing, and the trains are slower.
It depends on the country. But I think the worst culture shock for me was going to England and France for the first time. The English and the French both do this thing where they'll ask you, "How are you?" But they don't actually want to know. They just want you to say, "I'm fine," and then they change the subject. And I actually prefer that because I don't like it when people ask me how I am. I never know how to answer, and a lot of the time I end up saying things that I regret.
Ariadne, what's your skincare routine? Well, I moisturize it with lanolin and beeswax and keep it attached to a heart in a jar via a series of...
No, they're asking about your skin, Ariadne.
My own skin? Oh, you mean to ask how I maintain my remarkably youthful appearance? Well, every 10 years, I kill a newborn lamb to absorb its potential lifespan and add it to my own. The trick to getting the most out of this spell is doing it on your birthday, the exact moment the clock strikes 12.
President Holzmann, what was your childhood like? Amenable. I grew up in Green Mountain, about 30 minutes outside of Crystal City. I was the oldest of 5, well, Second oldest, technically, because my dear sister Christina, may she rest in peace, was born 15 minutes earlier than me. She was always very insistent about that fact growing up. My father was a difficult man in some ways, but I credit him with developing my strong work ethic. My mother? I think she did the best with the hand she was dealt. And my siblings and I were very lucky to have grown up surrounded by a strong community.
Eisen and Telesphore, what's your favorite term of endearment in Tamil and Magmalkan respectively? Ooh, I like that one. That's cute.
Inne eu rinne ataram. That's my lifeline.
Any crow dereg, my dear heart.
If Colette really wanted to be with Leonid and they were perfect together, would you be okay with not tormenting her anymore? Quite the opposite. I'd have to put in extra effort to make sure she's treating my son properly.
What's the worst way someone's ever misinterpreted your name? Well, most people assume my name is a nickname for one thing, or they'll hear it wrong and think I'm called fucking Isaac or something. But no, my brothers and I were all named after types of metal because, and this is said with love, our parents were completely bonkers.
Oh, let's see. Terpsichore, telephone, teleport, telespore, telesphere, telesphore. I could go on.
I get geese a lot. That's about it.
What's your favourite soup?
Potato and leek.
I'm partial to a beef bourguignon.
Mine's tomato. Or tomato. Whatever floats your boat.
Seafood bisque.
That's my answer too. Telesphore's seafood bisque.
Oh, that's sweet. Ideally, I make it with lobster, but I've had great success using a blend of prawn and trout when there's no lobster at the fish market. My secret is that before I boil the shells for stock, I grill them in the oven for a little bit.
Dear Ariadne, can I donate my body to you for science? I won't lower myself to accepting charity. If I want your body, I'll take it.
Telesphore, what happened the first time you scared a human?
Oh, you know, the normal human carrying on. Oh, I didn't hear you come in. Why do your eyes look like that? And so on and so forth. Colette, I don't think I've ever told you how refreshing it was that you didn't cross yourself when we first met.
Oh, you're welcome?
Because some people still do that, and it just makes me feel awkward. Especially when they're also saying things in Latin. I mean, how am I supposed to respond to that?
President Holzmann, can you tell us a bit about your studies, and how it is that you're a more powerful artificer than Eisen I am? Oh, I completed my degree at the Grasshopper Institute, where I studied engineering, history, rhetoric, and sociology, as well as practical, theoretical, and combat magic. I enjoyed my time there immensely. The campus is built on a series of floating platforms high above the mountains, and I fondly remember the beautiful views and the crisp, high-altitude air. There's nothing quite like a bracing wind to get you energized to learn. And the answer to the second question is simple. Discipline and willpower. The only difference between Aya and myself, other than the fact that he graduated 2 years before I enrolled, is that I took learning artifice seriously. I had discipline. Eisen is a deeply shallow man, unsuited to hard work and happy to use his talent as little more than a parlor trick to impress his fellow degenerates.
Eisen, did you ever go watch Jenny's performances? What was your favorite?
Does a bear shite in the woods? Of course I did. We were seeing each other for about, I don't know, probably a year and a half or so I probably went to about, I don't know, at least 4. My favourite was the one where these two girls, Elizabeth and the other one, and they live on opposite sides of a big stone wall, and they fall in love with each other's brothers. Then they go to a masquerade ball held by the prince, right? And then there's something to do with an angry mob trying to kill the town barber, and aha! Il Muro del Destero, that's what it was called. I don't know why it was in Italian, because the writer's from fucking Crystal City, but anyway, Jenny played Elizabeth, and she was fucking fantastic. I saw that one twice.
Telesphore, What's your favorite dessert from the Kehrseite?
There's a kind of sweet that we eat in spring called Soufrau, which are somewhere between a truffle and a Turkish delight. Oh, they're floral-flavored and coated in a thin dusting of sweetened flour.
Oh, stop it. You're making me hungry, man.
I'll figure out how to make a version you can eat, I promise.
Ariadne, have you ever considered joining a coven? I don't need a coven. I'm a member of a female self-defense gym. A traditional witches' coven would be too pagan for my tastes. I don't go in for the hallucinogens and bonfires and ritual dancing. I'm a Lutheran.
Colette, do you feel adequately represented as Co. within the Eyre, Winterlich, and Co. branding? Yeah, I prefer the relative anonymity. I don't want Geis on the side of the van. Obviously, when I'm a famous fashion designer, I don't want my name to be associated with a series of thefts and murders. That's bad for business. Although, hopefully, in the next year or two, it won't matter because it won't be Geis anymore. You know, if I'm lucky. Fingers crossed.
Colette, if you could move the Kingmaker to any other part of your body, what would you pick?
All right, I'm going to answer this one, but Telesphore and Eisen, block your ears. I don't want either of you hearing me describe my body parts.
Even me?
Yes, I'm serious. Block your ears. Both of you.
Fine.
Okay, good. I think I'd move the Kingmaker to my shoulder. My left shoulder, though, because I imagine it'd limit my arm rotation. So I don't want it on the side I use to write and draw. And I could cover it up with clothes, but if I really wanted... Hold on a second, someone sent another question. Here we go. Someone else asked if I'd ever make an outfit inspired by the Kingmaker. And if it was in my shoulder, I'd make a dress with gemstone details in the shoulder so I could show it off. And people would just think it was part of the clothes.
Here, hen, can we unblock our ears now?
Yes!
Ariadne, how hard do you think it'd be to remove the stick from Klaus Holzmann's backside? Do you mean his spine? It'd be child's play, provided I could get close enough.
Alright, next card. To Telsey. You're not his friend, pal, so don't call him that. How does the magic of good neighbours work? I'm not sure what is meant when people say it interacts with the environment. Pal, I've seen it happen, and I don't fucking know how it works. Good luck.
I get asked this a lot, and I really do feel terrible because I can't give a solid answer. I mean, I just don't know. I'm a chef, not a scientist. Do you know how you're able to tell how much pressure you're putting on an object when you pick it up? No. You know, sometimes I want something to happen, and it happens. Never anything extreme, but for example, I want to be on the other side of the room, then suddenly I'm on the other side of the room. Or I'll wish there was one more match in the box, and then I'll check the box, and it'll be in there. There's no real rhyme or reason to when it happens, and I can't consciously control it, but that's as best as I can explain it.
Mr. President, what do you feel your monocle helps you with more? Your vision or your stylishness? My vision, obviously. Unlike many of the German generals who wear non-prescription monocles simply to follow a trend, I actually need corrective lenses. I have a slight astigmatism in my left eye.
Eisen, outside of the van, obviously, what would be your dream car?
Oh, my dream car, ooh. Probably something fast and sporty like a Peugeot 126, aye.
Telesphore, describe your favorite color outside the human range of vision.
It's called Lofgol, and you find it around the edges of the leaves on carnivorous trees. I didn't used to understand why humans all think those trees are ugly until I realized that to you, the leaves are a uniform grayish-blue color. But they aren't. Lofgol is, let's see if I can describe it. It's a kind of goldy, purpley, greenish sort of black.
Did you ever have a pet before Skull Crusher? And if Skull Crusher could speak, what do you think she'd sound like? That's a good question.
I think she'd sound like one of those feral kids who hassle you to buy matchbooks and newspapers and stuff. She'd sound like a rude little street urchin, and, no, I never had pets.
We had dogs when I was growing up. 2 Dobermans and a Schnauzer.
I had a pet Tatzelworm.
Mr. President, what would you do when free from all of your current plans and responsibilities? I don't think that day will ever come, truthfully. Even if I eventually retire, I think a head of state is never entirely without responsibility to his country.
Oh, this one's for me. Fuck, marry, kill. Ariadne Culver, Babyface John, Maxim Moretz. Oh, this is easy. Marry Moretz, kill Ariadne, and fuck Babyface John. But maybe put a bag over his head. I mean, you don't look at the mantelpiece when you're poking the fire, eh? No one's laughing.
Maybe it's because you're not funny.
Telesphore, what's the best meal you've ever given someone? How dare you! I love all my creations equally. And to anyone eating them, all of them are the best meal I've ever given someone. Although, I do have a special fondness for the first time I made surf-on keema. Eisen told me that keema matar was his favorite food, and I wanted to impress him, but we couldn't afford mutton at the time, so I had to go out and shoot a surf-on for the meat.
President Holzmann, how many languages do you speak? French, English, Italian, German. And I can read Russian and Magmolkin, but my speaking skills in both leave much to be desired.
Colette, what's one of your dream projects?
I would love to do the costumes for a concert or an opera or something. I don't know specifically which one, but I just think it'd be really cool to do something that could be totally impractical. Eisen, are there any other mages in your family, or is it just you?
Well, to be honest, it's a wee bit different outside the VSR. I mean, magic isn't as institutional, you know, it's not all split up into neat categories like it is here. I mean, I'm the only one who's had any kind of formal training, but there have been loads in my family other than me who have had magical affinity, like my grandfather on my mother's side, for example. I mean, with him, the weather always responded to his moods. What a surprise. It would be completely clear as day outside, but if he got some bad news, it'd start raining without fail. And I've got a cousin who can bring dead flowers back to life, which is a really odd kind of magic, but never mind. And an aunt who says she can see the future in her dreams. But as far as I know, I'm the only artificer. Here, Colette, which of Nanette's dioramas is your favourite? Now here, hold on, before you answer the question, I'm limiting you to just one, because I know you have multiples.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I have one favorite, and it's the Anthony and Cleopatra one.
That's the one where the eunuch is watching, right?
We don't need to dwell on the details, but yes.
If I had a large collection of human bones, would a boneless flesh homunculus be a good option for storage and easy transportation? Asking for a friend. Well, you'd have to grow the flesh first, and depending on how many bones you need to store, that could take several days. It's far more expedient to add them to your own skeleton.
One of you is dragging a dead body to hide in the back of the van. What are the other two doing? Minding your own fucking business.
And not helping.
Not since my injury. My body dragging days are behind me.
Well, if it was you dragging the body, I would help.
When people died in ancient Egypt, the embalmers used to remove and dry the organs, stuff the body with salt and sand, then wrap it in linen to stop it from rotting. I've heard that you can do sort of the same thing but faster with quicklime. So if the body's preserved well enough, it won't smell, and we can just put it in a box and hold on to it until we're in a position where we can give it a proper, respectful burial. That's my answer. I would be doing that.
You've put quite a lot of thought into this.
I used to want to be a mortician when I was younger. I gave up on that when I found out you needed to go to medical school. This one is for Telesphore. If you lost a tooth, would you get a gold one to replace it?
Oh, no, of course not. That would be a complete waste of money. I just wait for it to grow back and hope nobody looks too closely at my mouth during that time. Eisen, tell us a funny story about your family.
I don't know if this is funny or not, but I'll tell you anyway, right? So when Bronze is my middle brother, right? When he and I were younger, we used to play a lot of card games, but at a point we would stop following the rules and it would just become like fucking psychological warfare, right? We'd lie to each other, trick each other, and just act like complete pricks. The game wasn't about winning, right? So it was about who could piss the other one off the most. And we could keep it up for fucking days. We once started a game of judgment that went on for a week and ended up with him tackling me into the fucking fence. Anyway, our mother started keeping the playing cards in a locked safe after that, which, it makes sense.
Colette, the diamond's safely removed. No more monetary worry and nobody's coming to get you. What is the first thing you're doing? In the short term, unclench all my muscles. First of all, because I haven't done that in 2 years. Then probably sleep for like a week. Long term, I don't know. I want to put down roots somewhere someday, but I don't know where yet. I haven't decided.
Ariadne, how do I become as talented a fleshcrafter as you? Start early by cultivating an interest in anatomy from a young age. It's probably too late for you, though. I started my experiments when I was 9.
Since you three are frequent travelers, what is one country you would each absolutely love to visit if given the chance? Ooh, I want to go to New York City.
I've always wanted to go to Iceland.
I mean, and I'm just going to say this straight, I'm going to be totally biased here, but I would love for all of us to go to India together. It'd be fucking great. Hey guys. Colette. Telesphore. Alright. I'll go myself then.
Is Margot accepting suitors? What an odd question. I can't speak on Minister Engel's personal life, or the personal lives of any of my cabinet for that matter, and I'm not entirely sure why you assume I would.
What's your most memorable transformation blunder from your early days as a fleshcrafter? Blunder? What do you think I am, some kind of clown? I do not blunder, and I never have. If I've ever failed, I have done so with grace. And where possible, I've left no witnesses.
What is your favorite animal? Leafcutter ants.
Dolphins.
Oh, it's got to be the mantelope for me.
Either a fox or a tatzelworm.
I have always felt a strong affinity with birds of prey. It's why crows and hawks are my forms of choice when I shapeshift.
Colette, if Ariadne turned me into a cat, could I be your personal lap cat that helps with your headaches? Ah, Jesus. We've got some real nutcases who listen to this show, don't we?
I'm actually allergic to cats, but you can still do that as a human.
Hey, I didn't ask the question. I was just reading what was on the card.
I know. I was joking, Eisen.
What's hard to tell with you sometimes?
Who's the best swimmer on the team, and who can hold their breath the longest underwater? I won't be crossing the English Channel anytime soon, but I think if we fell off a boat or something, I'd be able to survive. I took swimming lessons when I was a kid, and Eisen, I know your family comes from an area with lots of beaches, so you can swim too, right?
Aye. I probably should start doing more of it. It'd be good for my leg. Here, Telesphore, you'd never have to worry about drowning. You just float.
Damn right I would. And as for who can hold their breath the longest, it's Eisen.
Which is the strangest spell in your grimoire? Well, strangeness is relative, of course. But I think it might be Ardiglo Amico, a spell I learned from a book written in the 16th century. You collect your fingernail clippings in a jar with some other ingredients and leave it under your bed overnight. In the morning, you'll have a homunculus covered in a protective keratin exoskeleton. It's so useful for when you have important business to attend to and no time for busy work. And when you tire of them, they melt when sprayed with water. So altogether, quite useful.
What is your favorite non-firearm weapon? A bayonet knife. Simple, adaptable, precise.
Aya, Winterlich and Company, how do you all feel about bugs? Not a fan, personally.
I'm indifferent, to be honest.
I actually like bugs, even spiders, and that always surprises people, but I'm actually way more afraid of dogs than I am spiders. A spider bite in this part of Europe is maybe going to be itchy for a few days. A dog bite means stitches, and possibly rabies. And, okay, obviously I don't want spiders walking all over me or going in my mouth, but if I see one in the van, I don't kill it. I just leave it to its business. But I think my favorite bug is probably the silk moth because, obviously. I mean, where would we be without silk? I also really love the cobalt milkweed beetle and the Luna moth.
What is your favorite book? Oh, that's hard to say. I love any story with lots of twists and mysteries and intrigue, so I think I'm going to have to say Herald to a Murder by Theodore Schreiber. Though, I think The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins might be a close second.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention The Shortest Month in the Life of a Common Worker by Philip Anning, a book without which we would not have the Valorian labor movement as we know it, and thus a book to which I owe my entire career. But my favourite work of fiction is, without a doubt, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne.
Sentimental Education by Gustav Flaubert. And my second favorite is Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I read the French translation while I was doing my surgical residency, and I just thought it was hilarious.
You know, I'm really not that interested in novels, because, when you read a novel, you've basically got to block out the whole day for it, right? Like, I can't build a radio and hold a book in front of my face at the same time, and when push comes to shove, to be honest, I'd rather be building a radio. I prefer magazines. Impossible Futures might be my favourite, the science fiction one. If they ever put out a collection of all those Man on Mercury short stories, that would probably be my favourite book. So fuck it, there you go, there's my answer. I'm so ahead of my time that my favourite book doesn't even exist yet.
President Holzmann, who do you cite as your greatest inspirations? On a personal level, my former sociology professor, Dr. Forestier, who was one of the most brilliant men I've ever known, and Colonel Vincent Klosterman, who was like a second father to me while I was in the army. And, of course, my father, Isaac Holzmann. As a statesman, I take inspiration from the great leaders of history, Marcus Aurelius, Napoleon Bonaparte, Genghis Khan, just to name a few. And as an artificer, Musashi Miyamoto. He had a no-nonsense, ruthlessly pragmatic approach to his craft that I think many of us in the West could do well to learn.
Does flesh crafting a person into a bird, for instance, mean their form is more dense if their body is kept intact during the transformation? An astute question, and one that causes roadblocks for many neophyte flesh crafters. It's not simply a question of anatomy, but also physics. To master truly flawless shape-shifting, one must master the art of temporary matter displacement. It's a tricky thing knowing the most efficient places to add or subtract from your own body mass, and how to effectively store whatever you aren't using. Very dangerous if done incorrectly. That's why I would strongly advise practicing your transformation spells on other people before doing it to yourself. If you try to turn yourself into a pig and you fail, you might die. But if you try that spell on someone else and you fail, you get free pork chops.
To Ire Winterlich & Co. How have you personally managed keeping your survival prioritized over your morals? How do you keep yourself as a top priority when it feels like everything else in the world is pushing you to fail? Well, to whoever asked that question, I'm sorry for whatever happened because it sounds like you're really going through it. And to actually answer you, I'll let you know when I figure it out. I guess I just keep going because I'm scared to find out what happens if I give up.
I would say, take small victories wherever you can. Maybe the world is turbulent, maybe you're surrounded by enemies, but you can still take a hot bath, put on a clean shirt, listen to your favorite song, and share a meal with the people you care about. As long as you can do that, you haven't failed.
I also recommend being motivated by spite. It's worked so far for me.
What is your favorite piece of art?
Judith Decapitating Holofernes by Artemisia Gentileschi. Even though the angle of the blood spray is unrealistic.
My favorite artists are Edvard Munch and Vincent van Gogh. And I think my favorite paintings by them are Madonna and Sunflowers. And The Scream, because, well, sometimes that's what it's like.
As I would argue that architecture is very much an art form, I would say that my favourite artist is Arlo Fredriksson, and my favourite work of his is the Crystal City Athenaeum. In my opinion, it's one of the most exquisitely beautiful buildings in the world.
The Fallen Angel by Alexander Carbonell. Easily. It's the eyes.
Oh, I mean, you can't beat a good bronze sculpture, right? That's an absolutely superior art form in my opinion, and I think my favourite might be... Perseus holding the head of Medusa. Telesphore, if you had an advice column in the paper, what would it be about?
Oh, I've thought about this. It would be called Pairings, and it's both a dining and a relationship column. We go over what drink goes with what, and what person goes with whom.
Eisen, what's the next addition you want to add to the van?
I think actually she could use some sort of wireless radio communicator, you know, so we could call each other when we're in different rooms, and maybe I could fix it so that we could receive calls from a regular telephone line. I mean, it'd make keeping track of jobs a fucking hell of a lot easier.
Colette, what is the weirdest piece of clothing you've ever had to sew?
I think it was when we had to smuggle those fur coats into Latvia. We had to convince the customs officer that we were part of the Riga circus, so I had to get really good at sewing tights and leotards really quickly. It was definitely a learning curve.
Telesphore, what's your best piece of relationship advice? Oh boy. Don't keep secrets. I can give you that one from personal experience. Do as I say, not as I do.
To Eyre and Winterlich, what exactly happened at Lake Geneva in 1899? I made sure to include this one because I also really want to know this.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Ask Maria.
She told me to ask you.
Well then, ask Babyface John.
I don't want to do that. Just tell me.
Alright, fine. So, you remember that shrunken head we used to have up on the wall, right?